Welcome to a new episode of Evertalks. Today we have Hannah and Alexis here from AcroYoga Vienna, and we're going to talk about Acro Yoga. So nice to see you. So glad to have you here.
Thank you for inviting us. We're really happy to be here.
Nice. So let's start into it. Maybe you want to start with introducing yourselves. How did you come to Acro Yoga? How did it start for you? What was your journey?
Mhm. So, my name is Alexis. I come from Brussels and I arrived in Vienna 3 years ago. And in Brussels, at a certain point, I was moving into a flat, and my roommates or flatmates were acro yogis. I didn't know
Oh,
much
okay.
about it, but
Yeah.
suddenly I saw people doing acro yoga in my living room, and I was like, huh, this seems nice and fun. And then I got introduced into it. Back then, my main movement passion was climbing. So I
Okay.
was doing acro yoga on rest days from
Yeah.
climbing.
Yeah.
And now it's opposite. I do only acro
Oh,
yoga, and
wow.
on my rest
Yeah.
days, I go climbing a little bit. So somewhere over the years, it switched.
Sounds like a sign from the universe that you
Hmm.
just got introduced to acro yoga like this.
Yes.
Okay,
And
nice.
ever since, it's become a passion. And yeah, I really love acro yoga. For me, it's a lot more than a sport. And I'm really excited to share a bit more about this passion today and get into more detail.
Cool, nice. I'm excited about that. How about you, Hannah? How did you get into it?
For me, I had tried it, I think pre-COVID once or
Mm-hmm.
twice, and then COVID happened and the course I was in was canceled. So, but I remember feeling like, wow, this is so cool. And then there was nothing for a while. I went traveling for a year. I quit my job or I
Mm-hmm.
was on a leave. And then a friend of mine called me saying, hey, there's this retreat that I'm teaching at. You should come. It's
Okay.
an acro yoga retreat. I was like, okay, sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
And my plans changed. I went there for a week and it was super intense. Like we were doing acro yoga every day. The group was amazing. And I felt like, okay, this is
This is
super
it
cool.
for
I want to
you.
do this
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
And I had this year, it was in the very beginning of my travels, and I didn't have any fixed plans. So I thought,
Oh,
okay,
cool.
from
Yeah.
now I'm just going to go from acro event to acro event. I'm going to Google all the festivals and
Mm-hmm.
retreats and volunteer there. And then I think 2.5 months later, I met Alexis at one of those
Okay, yeah.
festivals. So it was really quite the intense, beautiful, life changing
Yeah.
part.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds magical, actually.
Yeah, I'm very grateful to that friend for calling Hannah, because she
True.
wouldn't have
Yes.
discovered acro yoga.
This all,
Um,
the
and
whole
yeah,
thing between you and also your studio wouldn't be here now.
Yeah. And I was supposed back then to be in Crete with a friend. So completely different. But she got sick and said, I can't come. So I was there and I'm like, okay, now what now? And then this friend calls. So it was really
Amazing.
good.
Yeah, so Acro Yoga kind of found you, and then you, I guess, changed your plans and it changed your life.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm glad that back then, also when we met, neither of us had um, a certain framework. Like it was all very open.
Mm-hmm.
We were both at a place in our lives where we had no fixed job. We had both quit to explore and travel. There were no things planned, as in, I need to be there at a certain time.
Yeah.
And before that, my life was always like, I know exactly where I'm going to be in 2 months. I have this lined up. But back then, it wasn't like this. And that gave us the flexibility to plan things together also and to just but also just see where it goes.
Yeah. Okay, you could let life lead you.
hmm
Mm-hmm.
That sounds interesting, and also like a lot of us would need that, I guess, because of course, like in our Western society, we always have these scheduled lives and we plan like weeks ahead when we meet some friends or something. So cool that you could just switch that up and in this way change your lives.
yeah.
Very, very exciting. So, did you have any yoga experience before starting acro yoga, or was it just like the whole yoga journey started with acro yoga?
I did yoga well before acro yoga. the thread for me is always that I was a climber and then something happened and that brought me into something different.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, I had a injury from running. I had broken my ankle,
Mm-hmm.
and I needed to find something to slowly get moving again. And then someone suggested yoga, and back then I wasn't too sure about yoga as a practice. I didn't know much about it, and I went to it and I was surprised how intense it
Mm-hmm.
was for my body. The stretching, the strength, the first times going through an asana class, and I really liked it. And I started going week after week, and before I knew it, a year later I was taking a teacher training in Rishikesh.
Mm-hmm.
And so my first teacher training was back then a 200 hour. I think that was almost 9 years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, I've been slowly teaching, first at work because I was still working at a university in Brussels.
Okay, yeah.
I have a PhD in health economics,
Mm-hmm.
that's a different topic. And I was teaching for my colleagues. And then later, while traveling, I was practicing more and more, going deeper into it. And actually, meeting Hannah um, inflamed my passion for yoga
Yeah.
even more. Because Hannah is a real yogini, more than me, I
Mm-hmm.
think. At least back then when we met, I think now it's different. Um, but I felt that we really helped and motivated each other to get deeper into the practice. So for me, it was not only that we met through acro yoga, but we also met through yoga. And now I've done an additional 300-hour teacher
Mm-hmm.
training. And I love rocket yoga. I love teaching yin. And at the studio, we're also teaching yoga classes. And I love both yogic and the acro-yogic path in my life and walking both parallel, and
Yeah.
of course they cross-fertilize each other
Of
also.
course, yeah. I see. So, yeah, yoga has accompanied you for quite a long
Mhm.
time. Interesting. And you have also been teaching before you got to acro yoga.
Yes.
Interesting. And was it the same for you? I just heard from Alexis that he called you a very experienced yogini. So I'm guessing acro yoga was also not the yoga practice that introduced you to yoga.
No, for me, it was my mom who introduced me to yoga.
Oh, okay.
So when I was 17, she would bring home a DVD that was called Power Yoga, but it was actually Ashtanga Yoga, the primary series in a modified way. And that started it for me. So that would be now 15 years ago. And then when I went to Vienna, when I was 18, 19, I started practicing more regularly. And then I think 10 years after that, I did my teacher training with Sonja Rössler, who was a really important mentor for me because she was my first yoga teacher in Vienna in person. And then also doing the first training with her. And yeah, for me, it's a daily practice. Like for me, yoga was the first time that I felt I am connecting to my body and I feel strong in my body because I was, and maybe to a part still am, someone who enjoys being also in the mind a lot,
Yeah.
like reading, journaling, all these things. And yoga was different than all the sports that I had done because sports for
True,
me at
yes.
school especially was like
It's just physical,
not a
basically.
nice
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but back then I wasn't ready to connect with my body in that way. So yoga was amazing. And then acro yoga took me from this solitary place on my mat to
this togetherness.
interaction.
Yes.
Yeah, interaction, playfulness. I remember that for me, one of the coolest things was to just try something, be allowed to fail at it in the beginning, figure it out together. And this process that it's fun and not as I remembered it, for example, in school when we would do maybe more acrobatic stuff, that you're supposed to nail the trick. That's the main goal. You're supposed to do it and it has to look good. Whereas in acro yoga, yeah, sure, you can go into the aesthetics. It's nice also, but it's more about how do you get there? How much fun can you have on the way to this pose? And what does it show you about yourself and interaction with others?
That sounds so nice. I can totally relate to this. I mean, it's like a very big deal in our society to well, always focus on the outcome, and it's a lot about success and all of this. And how you're describing acro yoga, it sounds very playful, very much in connection to the other person. So yeah, very, soft. It sounds like you're softening through the practice, right? That's pretty cool. So you've already mentioned a lot of interesting topics, which we will get into later on. Before, I want to discuss, you opened a studio this year. So maybe you can talk a bit about that. How did you have the idea to start it? What's your focus in the studio? How is it going?
You can
I
start.
can start? Okay. So the idea to start a studio came gradually because when we came to Vienna, I just had quit my job. I worked 9 years at the university, and I just went traveling, knowing I wanted to do something else, but
Yeah.
not knowing what it would be. So a blank canvas. Then we met, and I ended up coming to Vienna for very obvious reasons. And I wanted to try teaching yoga and teaching acro yoga. And coming from outside of Vienna, new in the city, also not speaking German, I was wondering how this would work, but I managed to contact a few yoga studios. Also, Hannah's contacts were really useful in that sense. And then we found a room and we rented it out for 1 evening, 2 evenings, I think. We started with 2 courses. We wanted to do one beginner, one intermediate course just to see and explore and experiment if it would work. And in the beginning, it was just a handful of students, and then week by week it grew, and the second season we had more, and then we opened the third course, and then we opened the fourth course. So it was just each
so it went
each
well,
cycle it was growing. And at some point, if you want to grow more, there is the question on how to do it. And then
what's the next step?
what's the next step? Because if you are always dependent on other places to be available for you to rent out, it's more difficult to plan it at the exact moments that work the best, that are also the best for the students in the end. And this then we came very quickly to the conclusion that our own space would start making the most sense. And then we started looking.
Okay, wow. So you've been teaching together for quite some time, for a couple of years, is that correct? Yeah. And then this year you started the journey of your own studio. It's called AcroYoga Vienna. Again, I mean, we said that already, but just to point it out again for the audience. What is your main focus in the studio? Like, what's your concept?
We are focusing on acro yoga, and we have 2 formats. We have courses and we have classes. So for us, the courses are our main thing because we love having a fixed group over the course of several weeks. We just see that it's super beneficial, not just for the practice, but also for the group dynamics. But we also have classes where you can just join week by week if you have time. If not, you come back 5 weeks later, it's fine. And there we have acro yoga, but we also offer handstands, which is a really beautiful thing for us. And we're focusing on, we used to focus only on beginners, like do a course that's also available as a drop-in. And now we also have an open level handstand training with another teacher. Super happy about that. And we do yoga. So both Alexis and me teach a weekly yoga class, or you even teach 3. And we have a jam. A jam is an unguided training where people just come into the space, the mats are there, we're there, or our friends are there, and you mingle, you practice, but there's no instruction.
No instructor. Interesting. So let me just summarize that. So you have open classes and also fixed courses. And there's not only acro yoga, but with yoga, because you mentioned you have yoga classes, I'm guessing you mean quote unquote normal yoga. So on the mat.
Vinyasa yoga, rocket yoga, and yin yoga.
I see. Yeah.
Also to balance it, because we feel that yoga is still our personal primary practice for our own their well-being, and we want to share that too. And especially on Fridays we end with yin, because acro yoga is very solar, you could say. It's very activating, it's
Yes.
high energy, it's a lot of interaction with a lot of people. So to balance it, both for us and I think also for the community, it can be very nice to have this reset also at the end of the week.
Yeah, to balance it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Very cool. So if I'm a beginner in acro yoga or even yoga in general, how can I start at your studio? Like, what would you recommend? How is the process for a beginner who maybe wants to try it out and see how they feel about it?
I think then there are two main options. The first is each 10 to 12 weeks, we have a cycle of these courses that starts again, and there will always be a new beginner course starting. And this is perfect if you have no experience whatsoever. If you have a little bit of experience, then of course you're also very welcome. And there we will break down all the basics from scratch and give you all the basic poses to develop your own acro yoga practice in a fun, playful,
Yeah.
but also safe and sustainable way. The other option that you have, if it's difficult to commit to 10 or 12 weeks, or you're somewhere in the middle of the period when you think to join, then we have the open level classes. And in the open level classes, we always show a few basic poses, but also some more advanced poses. So you get a glimpse into
There's a little
what
bit
is
of everything.
possible,
Yeah.
and there's also people of different levels in the class. And then we encourage the people that have more experience to mix in a group with the newcomers.
Wow, yeah.
So then you can benefit and actually maybe experience something more than you would with only
In your
if two
level.
beginners or in your level
Yeah.
would work together. And this is again this aspect of community, of sharing, of openness in acro yoga, which we encourage and also that we really love as part of the practice. So there are these two main avenues: the courses or the open level classes. And the open level classes will also always give you a random element to discover what it is. But I think if you want to get really deeper into the practice, and at some point taking a course can be the best way to move forward.
I see. So it's very much like a multi-level experience. There's not only the physical practice, but there's also, as you said, community and also this exchange between people. So that sounds very interesting and also like mentally stimulating, actually, and also like a learning experience. So just one last question about the beginner part, because I can imagine that a lot of people might be maybe a little bit nervous or afraid about trying acrobatics in that sense. How can you maybe turn down their fear or like the fearful voice in their head, maybe?
I can relate to this fear also, because I remember how I thought when I saw these things in the beginning, maybe on a YouTube video or something, and I thought, okay, this looks really cool, but I'm not sure if I can do it. And we have this experience also often. We show something, people go like, whoa, no way. But then 20 minutes later, they're doing it.
Yes.
So I would say acro yoga is a mix of different things. So it's not just the acrobatics. If you're worried about, am I fit or strong enough, then come to the class, try it out, and trust that your body can do more than you think. That's maybe a general thing that I experience in acro. Most people have the limitation, not in the body, but in the mind. And myself included. Like when I see something new, I need to check in with my initial reaction. If it's like not for me, where is this coming from? Because maybe you could do it easily.
Yeah.
And it's not always easy. Like there might be moments where you're figuring something out in acro, it's not working. But then if you switch either groups, you work with someone else, try it out, or you give yourself a moment and you come back, you try it again, and suddenly it does work. However, it's also not about nailing the trick. So what I mentioned before, it's not like you want to leave the class and the main goal is that you got the poses.
Yeah, and that you're perfect and you need to do everything exactly how it's shown, for example. Yeah.
I mean, you can focus on the physical aspect only. That's very fair. It's like in yoga. You can go to an asana class thinking, I want to deepen my dancer pose, or I want to get my splits. Same in acro. You can come for the poses, and that's going to be already a lot of fun. But if you go with a mindset of, I just want to figure this out, or I want to
explore,
just have fun, I think this is the best premise in acro, because it is about, in the end, just trying it, celebrating when it works, accepting when it doesn't. And the community, for me, in the end, like, because you're working with other people, it is a hopefully uplifting experience.
And I want to add to that there is also this aspect of having a third person in each group, which is a spotter who keeps it safe, but is also the person who is your cheerleader and the person who can help you get into the trick. So the spotter is also someone who can open the door for you to experience where you need to go to get into the pose and be there in a safe way. And then it also takes a lot of repetitions to take the spotter away if that's something you're interested in. But because of this constellation, we always work in groups of minimum 3 people. It's almost certain that most things will at some point be achieved in the class with the help of the spotter. And then you can slowly reduce the assistance of the spotter when you integrate the movements more in your body. And this makes it also possible for people to come alone to an Acro Yoga class, because this is a question we often get. Do we need a partner to join? And no, you can come alone, because we always mix and match and create groups of minimum 3 people.
Interesting,
So in that case, you also can experience Acro Yoga even if you don't have a fixed partner. You can, of course, also come with a fixed partner and train with that person. But we always encourage mingling and mixing it up, interacting with different people, different bodies. It's like a puzzle that's always a little bit different depending with who you are practicing.
Cool, I see. So we just point out there's no need to worry. It's a safe space because you're starting out in a group where everyone is a beginner. And it's about like experiencing and also probably like trying to get out of your comfort zone, and then also, if it doesn't work out, maybe celebrate that you even tried it. And also there's a spotter, so I think there's a lot of safety measures taken. So yeah, I guess we can all encourage everybody to try it, to come to your studio. That's cool. So now in the last couple of minutes, you mentioned a lot about, we talked about fears. We talked about also like slowly gaining the trust, and also working with other people, like also being in contact with them, in communication with them. So what I'm getting from this is that there's so much more to learn about other people, or like being in a relationship with other people. Also, relationship not only meaning romantic relationship, but every kind of relationship. Maybe you can talk a bit about that. Like, what do we gain when we join an Acro Yoga class? What can we gain? What can we learn? Kind of relationship skills or communication skills.
I would say that Acro Yoga is one of those sports where you cooperate. So that's the main thing. It's you solve it together, you figure it out together. There is a lot of interaction. I think this is also one thing to be aware of. There's a lot of interaction. There's a lot of also physical touch. And there we get into also trust and, as you say, safety. All these things are deeply connected in the whole practice. And now I'm blanking.
I think in terms of communication, because that's something you mentioned, and I think that's something that really comes forward in interpersonal relationship skills. You really Acro Yoga is a mirror. Like a lot of things in life are a mirror of who you are and what you do. And Acro Yoga is a very big mirror for how you communicate or how you react to certain styles of communication. And that goes to, how do you ask someone something you need from them? Do you come from a place where you more easily point out the flaws of other people, or do you look more inwards to see
Yeah.
what you can change yourself to do something? Already there is a big difference. And also, how do you communicate? How often do you communicate? How easily do you say those things?
Yeah.
And acro yoga really helps to first understand how you work,
yourself
how
are,
you
yeah.
yourself are, and then it gives you the opportunity to change that if that's something that you see that you feel you can improve.
Yeah.
And for me, I have learned so much in how to ask for things, how to also set boundaries, how to say a no, how to approach someone and ask for something I need, and all of these aspects translate to much more than just acro yoga.
Wow, so acro yoga translates to your life because the body is involved, your boundaries are involved. Also, you mentioned like the communication style of every person is a little bit different. So you cannot also not only explore like how the dynamics in the group are, but also you can explore yourself on a like probably psychological level. So that goes very deep actually.
It can go very deep. I really think it's like you go to the depth that you're ready or that you're looking for, because I think it's fair to do acro yoga for recreation, to say I just want to have fun,
Yeah.
I just want to move my body, but after a while it does probably bring up certain things for you. And as Alexis said, like, how do I react when I ask someone, do you want to do this trick with me, and they maybe say no? Or how do I react when I feel I'm not strong enough for this? Or yeah, all of these little things. How do I ask for help? And we have this also exercises or games that we sometimes include because they can help, hopefully help people to see, okay, how can I ask for something? And there's this magic sentence in acro when something isn't working, instead of saying you should be doing this or you bend your arms, that's why it didn't work, to say what can I do to make it easier for you, to move from this you statements to an I statement, for example. This is just one way in acro where we try to also bring these communicative skills in, and it does change. We also see it. We see it in certain constellations from the first session to the last session, how people interact and how they react to successes. Some people also have a lot of trouble to accept, you did great, that was amazing. They will tell you, no, I wasn't in my line, or I wasn't actually good. So all of these little things come up in acro, or can come up.
That sounds so beautiful. That that is a part that you teach or that comes with the practice. I feel like the communication between people, it's just one thing that can improve if you can do it well, and also in a relaxed way. If you don't have so much struggle with it, then you can just improve your life a lot. It makes you it moves you closer to the people that you love. So that's a very beautiful thing. So I can imagine, because we talked about the group and also about like acro yoga partners. We already talked in the beginning, you're a couple, you found each other through acro yoga, you teach together, now you have a studio together, you live together. So how well, first of all, like, how is it to kind of have a very big part, or like it sounds like every part of your lives together? How is that? And also, how did acro yoga help you with spending your life together?
I answer? Well, I think first of all, yeah, acro yoga is how we first connected. We met at an acro yoga convention and at an acro yoga jam, and it has been so beautiful to just get to know each other and then also fall in love while exploring acro yoga together and traveling the world. And from the beginning, very early on, we were spending time in Hannah's van together, which is really tiny and
Very intimate, yeah.
very intimate. So we learned very quickly that we can spend a lot of time together also in a small surface. Actually, when we moved to Vienna to the apartment, it felt like so much luxury to have
so much open space.
so much open space.
Yeah.
And then for the part of working together, of living together, of now being married together, it feels very natural for me at least. I really enjoy spending time together, and I think if that's there at the basis, then this doesn't feel like a challenge for me. Of course, we take our alone time apart from time to
Yeah.
time. For me, that's now going climbing. Then Hannah also has time alone at home. But for the rest, I feel like we are a well-oiled team that also just really love spending time together, and then that makes all the rest
Yeah.
flow more easily.
That's beautiful.
And I think what you said is the basis is we enjoy each other's presence a lot, and it also grounds me to spend time with Alexis. And especially since we're in contact with so many people, I feel we're a bit each other's recharging and yeah, like anchor. And I do notice, especially now that we have a lot of classes and courses, that we both need our alone time as well. So that's something we really try to schedule. So we also do a weekly meeting with each other where we go through a few things. Like we would always go through what are your needs at the moment, what are the unmet needs, when and how will we carve out the time to do things that recharge us individually. Because, for example, much to Alexis' chagrin, I'm not going climbing yet, so that's always his thing. He's doing his climbing. I will go to yoga, I will do my journaling at home or things, or meet my friends. So I feel we are aware of what the other person needs, where we are different also, and that I think helped us a lot, or helps us to navigate the weeks where it is very busy, because that has been like a theme for 2024 from January to August, or
Even
we were
until now.
basically doing non-stop.
Of course, with the opening of the studio, it must have been very, very much to do.
Yeah.
And I would love to add to that, because there is one aspect of the marriage meetings that we call them, our weekly meetings, that is my favorite part, and that is the appreciation round. And we tell each other what we are thankful for that the other person did in the last week. And that way, I feel like this also gives so much energy to be proactive, to do things for each other, to get things moving, if you know and feel that we appreciate each other for what we are doing, even though it's not always easy. And then it comes down to communication. We choose to take time to communicate about these things every week, and I feel like this gives us a strong basis to build upon and to get the things done that we are doing in the end.
So you're leading a very conscious relationship. That's really beautiful. Would you say that you already had these skills before you entered your relationship, or was it Acro Yoga? Because we were talking about how Acro Yoga teaches you communication and all of that. Did it help you, or was it rather like that Acro Yoga helped you to meet and just get to know each other, or was it also that you learned these vital communication skills that you now practice? Did it teach you that?
I think it's a mix. I think much of what we do in these meetings or when we reflect is, for me, coming from years of journaling also. Like, this is one of my key practices, and I feel that is maybe the main source. But what I learned through Acro Yoga with you specifically is how to deal with impatience and when something isn't working yet or has already worked and then isn't working anymore, which is a really interesting point. And that's in the physical practice maybe, or in Acro Yoga, but it can be translated in when we manage or organize our studio or our events and projects. So there I feel it's a mix of these two for me, from the journaling and from Acro Yoga.
Yeah, and I think there I really want to thank you for that because I didn't come from this journaling background. That's something relatively new for me, and that's something that Hannah brought into my life, into our lives. And it has also helped me to see more clearly, to ground myself, to set priorities, and to overall grow as a human. And this is definitely for me something that came through the Acro Yoga also.
Okay, yeah.
The introspection, the getting feedback from people, having different types of experiences, but also a lot from Hannah through her journaling background, and I'm very grateful for that.
Interesting. So, yeah, Acro Yoga, just, well, you were conscious before, but also Acro Yoga added a lot of probably awareness to your whole experience. So it's definitely a big teaching ground. So I just want to go back because, of course, you also met through Acro Yoga. I'm just thinking that you know, right now there's this whole thing that people start running clubs to meet each other. So maybe, I mean, are there some couples who have found each other through in your classes? Are there some Acro Yoga couples?
I'm thinking now, I don't think in our courses that people met and became a couple there. I would now have to think a little bit longer. Maybe I'm missing something.
I think about one couple that met through a retreat where we were teaching.
Yes.
Yeah, that for sure. I guess a retreat is maybe an environment where you have more time to get to know each other and
you're away from everything.
Yes, yes, yes.
It's true.
But in the classes, not so much
And
yet
also-
that I know of. Of course, there might be things going on.
It's an opportunity. So guys,
Yeah.
if you want to meet someone.
But I want to say that I think it's actually good that I cannot come up with 6 examples now, because for us, Acro Yoga is not now a bit exaggerating, but it's not a dating
Of course not.
field. It's very much you come hopefully centered also in yourself, not looking for something specific, but I think all of these things open up when we're maybe not looking for them.
Yeah, true.
But when in Acro and in our courses, we also want to create an atmosphere that feels like we're here for the Acro.
Yeah.
Like we're not here for looking for someone or for something very specific. This can come and blossom. And we do have couples that come together to Acro. Like I would say, maybe depending on the course, 50 to 70% come as a couple. They know each other before and then they come. Yeah.
So, of course, in your studio focuses on Acro Yoga, and we just learn to, well, probably be free and not think about an outcome, but also with this openness, I guess.
Yeah.
Anything can happen, so
anything
you never know.
Can happen. Yeah. And I think what happens a lot is friendships that we truly see. Like this is very obvious. Like course groups also connect. They connect beyond our weekly meetings. We always have a WhatsApp group where we share material, like video material from the course, and where people also often start saying like, hey, I have a spot available today where 5 people could jam.
Yeah,
I have this basement in my house where there are mats. Who wants to come?
Oh, interesting.
And then,
cool. They build it themselves, the class. Yeah. Or like the
training
space, the training, yes.
And then also now at the studio, we see that cross courses, people start connecting through the jams or through the open level classes. And there is a group of, I would say, 30, 40 people that for me is already like a studio community that is the kind of
in themselves,
that is very, very present. And then beyond that, we have people who are coming new and or who come for the drop-ins, but I can think of at least like these 30, 40 people who I feel like have become very dear to us and to the studio as community, like not as customers. So that's also something that for us is a beautiful experience, which I did not expect when we started 3 years ago. That because in yoga, often people come into the studio, you teach the class, you also have a little bit of interaction, but in Acro, it's for me it goes deeper more quickly.
Yeah.
Like,
And
Yeah.
we really see that people stay after class. Often we only close 30 to 45 minutes after
Okay.
ending time
Yeah.
of class because
Yeah.
people are talking or
Yeah.
interact. We're also talking with them.
Jamming.
Quite often they also go out for dinner together after class.
Nice.
Even last week we had someone coming over later because of some reason they couldn't make it to class, but they just wanted to drop by and say
Oh,
hello,
to see everybody.
to see everybody, and not even practice the acro yoga, but
That's great.
just be there. So I think we also hear it often from people. We really missed being here. We missed seeing
Yeah.
everyone. So I think more and more the people come to meet the community and be in the community, and then the acro yoga is on top of that
Yeah.
somehow.
So that's a bit after maybe a few courses, or after, if it catches you, it usually catches you. There are people who really catch what we call the acro bug. Like
Oh,
we
yeah.
did when I
Yeah.
went to this retreat, and I was like, wow, okay, now I want to do this like full
All
on.
the time, yeah.
And not everybody is like that, of course, it's not necessary, but there is this core group that is really super much into acro.
Yes, and that has become a strong community.
Mm.
That's really cool. And it also sounds so inspiring to just hear that they built their own training spaces and all that. Do you have any other stories, like within the community, maybe that happened, or like that you experienced? What was like a very beautiful moment, maybe that you found through acro yoga?
I think in general, what I observe is often people maybe coming in being a bit more introspective, a bit shyer, can be on different levels, and then just seeing throughout the classes how they are slowly opening
Yeah,
up and blossoming, and that we really see this transformation in the face, in the eyes, in and I think one of the things that I hear very often is that people come to class feeling a bit tired, a little bit drained, and then afterwards they tell me like, ah, I feel so much better now. I
Yeah,
have energy
recharged,
again.
yeah.
I'm recharged. I can move on again, and I think each time that that happens and that someone tells me that, it just also brings a smile on my face, and then I
Oh yeah, I
feel
can
like,
imagine.
okay, we are doing something more than just teaching the skill of acro yoga, but we're giving something to people that is valuable,
Yeah.
and I think it's about the connection again, that you go there and you just recharge your social battery, you recharge.
Yeah.
There's a lot of laughter also. There's a lot of high energy, like what Hannah said in the beginning. This like this solar aspect we call it of acro yoga, where it's just a lot of build up of positive, of active energy,
Yeah.
and it just resonates, and it also recharges me. If sometimes I have a more difficult day for whatever reason, I can even sometimes things like, oh, I actually don't, I wish I would not have to teach now, but okay, we're here now, we're gonna do it. And then after, I'm so happy that
Yeah.
I was teaching, because
It
I
gave you
feel
all the
so much
energy.
better, and it
Yeah.
gave me all the energy. So that's something that I think comes up for me.
Yeah. And also to see certain changes in communication and in also the physical aspects. It is quite impressive how fast people also progress.
Yeah.
Like from coming with no experience whatsoever to maybe a year later already doing, wow, really
Advanced
beautiful
poses.
advanced things, and giving themselves the credit for it also, to say like, okay, cool, I came a long way. Like,
Cool.
that's really nice for me to see. And also in yoga, like we see in acro yoga, we see people come saying, I have such tight hamstrings, I cannot do this. And then after a few weeks already, you see a big change, because basically it's stretching with weight.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so there's also this aspect of seeing the body opening and seeing people softening or opening up also.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a lot of personal development on all levels.
Yeah, and maybe sometimes from, I don't know if it's that obvious for the people themselves, because sometimes And some people also remain like, they come in with a super open energy and they stay like that. And it's not I think if you go into a class thinking, I want transformation from acro yoga, then it might not happen. But if you go in thinking like, I want to explore this, I don't know, and then some things might start changing.
Interesting. So, especially you, Hannah, you have now talked, well, a few times about this difference between having a set goal in your mind and then maybe even not getting it because you're so fixated on it. And then, well, the opposite thing would be probably, I guess, letting go or like just having an open mind, just like seeing what happens. I also heard that that was your experience with the traveling, with like giving up your job. How does letting go fit into this whole acro yoga theme?
I'd say it can be a big part of it. Letting go of control sometimes also, because when you're practicing with someone, you surrender a certain part of control to that person, especially as a flyer to a base. And we see that, and I can also relate to that, this can be tricky. Like if you are unsure or you might feel unsafe even, and that's again something to look at. And in the courses we try to give exercises that are progressive, so it's not immediately you're going upside down, but you test the waters first. But if I'm trying to control too much, for example as a flyer, I will probably block the trick, because I need to feel and react to the flow with the base. And
and again, I think there is no right and wrong there, but just again a mirror. Like, okay, because we encourage people to try basing, flying, and spotting, and all three roles have very different aspects of letting go, of surrendering. As a base, I need to let go sometimes of control to the flyer for certain movements, but also to the spotter for safety. It's normal to feel responsible for the safety of the person that you are basing, and then letting go of full control over that safety, and also trusting the spotter. This is something that comes into mind. Then as a flyer, like Hannah expressed, the base needs to balance you at the end of the day, so there is also a sense of letting the base ground you and let go of control there. But if that's difficult, then that's okay. Then that's just again a mirror. Then you can think about that or observe that and see like, okay, where does this maybe come from that I have trouble trusting? For me, it's always been very easy to be a flyer and to let go of control. And in the beginning, I was very surprised when people told me that was something that they were struggling with, because in my reality, I'm a very trusting person by nature. So this translated to not having trouble letting go of control as a flyer. And I've also learned so much about other people and about myself again, by talking about all these aspects and recognizing, there is a whole spectrum of how different people react
different they are.
to the same situation. And again, that's a beautiful part about acro yoga, then communicating about this and trying to find a framework, a solution that helps people to step by step overcome that, if that's something that they want.
Cool, interesting. Would you say that because you are like for you it's easy to be a flyer, did you have trouble being a base? Is that something that's common to like find something one position easier than the other?
I think in my case, both came relatively easy. I would say I had more limitations in the beginning, in the physical aspect of being a base. Even though I'm a base now, 10 years ago I was really not flexible. Then I started with yoga and it helped a lot. I had an office job. My hamstrings were super tight. I could barely touch my toes. And it was really hard to straighten my legs in the beginning as a base. It took me a lot of time, a lot of patience. I'm also not the tallest person, so there were also limitations in my head that to be a strong base, I need to be bigger or stronger. So it were more these type of limitations that came into my head. But in the end, now I feel really at home in my body being a base because I love grounding. I love grounding other people. This is one of the things that I feel really comfortable with. And the calmer you are as a base, the more you breathe, the softer you are, the more you can translate this energy to the flyer, the more the flyer can also trust you and let go. And then we are back to this previous topic.
So with grounding, because you said grounding as a base, maybe that's not clear for everybody. So you mean that you yourself are relaxed and then you give the flyer a trustful feeling? Is that what you mean?
Yes. But it's
Interesting.
also literal. That's a beautiful part about Acro Yoga because you are literally the ground. You are the floor for the flyer. So the flyer is grounding herself or himself through you. And
Interesting.
and that's also a feeling I love. Like if it comes to what are the physical sensations of Acro Yoga as a base, I love this moment when you find the center together. And when you feel that the flyer is finding the floor and perfect balance through you. And that just creates a sense of peace for me that is reminiscent to maybe doing a complex asana, a balance on one leg, and you feel just that boom, you're there, aligned, you're just breathing, it's effortless, and you have this sense of calmness coming over you.
Wow, that sounds great. Okay, now I understand the grounding part better, and also like how both people have to work together to create their center. So there's not only one center of the base or the flyer, but you have to create one center together as a team. That sounds beautiful. So now we have talked a lot about Acro Yoga, and we're slowly coming to a close of this discussion. Maybe you want to tell us like what are some typical questions that people ask you, and maybe also what are some misconceptions, like what are these topics that you come across often?
I would say the most common question is if you need to come with a partner, or that people think you need to come with a partner. And because of the constellation of 3, base, flyer, and spotter, you can definitely come on your own. Because that holds many people back thinking, I first need to find someone who wants to do this with me. Or also very common that someone says, I would like to do Acro Yoga, but my partner doesn't want to. You can start on your own if you want. I think another misconception is that men have to be bases and women women have to be flyers, and to work in this dichotomy. And even though we also mostly work in this constellation, it's mostly because this is what we repeated. And now in the beginner course, for example, I base Alexis because first I also really noticed I want to get more into basing, but also to hopefully empower other people to switch roles and not do the same roles that you see in most videos, also in ours. And there it's again like it's a learning and the growth journey to say you can base, you can fly, you can be a hybrid, you can do both. So these are 2 things that come to my mind. How do I need a partner? Do I need to be a flyer or a base, or can I switch? Something to be aware of, I think. I'm not sure if it's a misconception, but there is a lot of touch in acro, and to be aware this is for safety. But also when you come to class, to know there will be a lot of interaction, a lot of touch, and to voice it if you're not comfortable with that. You can still come and join. You can sit out certain parts of the class. Like everything we offer is optional, but to be aware there will be physical touch to keep you safe, and and to come with a mindset that this is also just for safety. And there again we are a bit in this realm of it's it doesn't have a
mean anything,
sensual
yeah.
connotation. It's not to be close to someone. It's really very, very
Yeah.
functional.
And I think another question I get quite often, especially from male bases, I often notice is I am not flexible enough to do this because I cannot straighten my legs. Also, then again, other people who want to be a bass but think I am not strong enough. Opposite also, maybe you are a little bit taller and you want to be a flyer, and then also thinking I cannot do that, but you really can go everywhere as long as you have the mindset to find the center together and do it in a safe and progressive way. And I think a lot of different combinations are possible, and we encourage this to find it. And very specifically for the issue, which is a non-issue actually, of having tight hamstrings and not being able to straighten the legs, there is something called an acro triangle or an acro pillow, which is a little wedge that you can put under your sacrum. You can also just roll a yoga mat and place it under your sacrum, and this will elevate your hips and allow you to straighten your legs a lot easier or overcome some limitations of flexibility in your acro practice. So this can also be a shortcut to start or get somewhere until you slowly grow more flexible. And I think in general, everybody, like every type of body, can come into acro yoga and can enjoy both basing, flying, and spotting, which is also what we encourage and which is a philosophy at our studio.
Nice. So it's for everybody and for everybody.
Yes.
Yes. And also there are helpful tools or props that you can use.
Yes.
So it's nobody has to be worried that something doesn't work. You can just explore together and see how you make it work.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool. Then we're coming to a close already. I would like to ask like a very open question. Is there something on your mind that we haven't talked about and that you would like to mention still?
I have one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Next year, we are organizing the first Acro Yoga Vienna festival.
Cool. I saw that on Instagram.
Yes, so I'm very, very proud and excited about this. We invited 10 international guest teachers, and it's the weekend end of May. It's Friday afternoon, evening, Saturday whole day, Sunday the whole day, and it will be from beginner to advanced with multiple parallel workshops. And we're really excited to bring this to Vienna, and I think it's the first festival of its kind here.
Wow.
And it's also one of the ways that we want to promote Acro Yoga and help with the growth of Acro Yoga. And from a personal perspective, I want to share that I really believe that Acro Yoga is something beautiful and something good, in the same way that I believe this for yoga and for a lot of other things in life. And I'm really grateful and happy that as my job and mission, I can spread this and I can just
spread the word.
help people discover this, what I find is a beautiful activity, a beautiful passion, which is more than a sport to me. And I just hope that with the studio and with everything we are creating around the studio, we can help with the further growth of Acro Yoga. And the more people who do Acro Yoga, the better place the world will be, I believe. But this may be a bit cheesy, but that's truly what I believe.
What we're here for, to talk about cheesy stuff. No, you can, or I could really feel, and I think the audience too could really feel how passionate you both are about Acro Yoga. And for me, it sounded very interesting. So I think it like whets your appetite to try it out. So about the festival, can you repeat again what it's called and where can we find information about the festival if we want to join it.
Yeah. So it's called AcroYoga Vienna Festival, IV Festival in short. And you can just come to our website and
the website of
AcroYoga Vienna
of your studio.
Yeah, and then there is a separate section. Or our Instagram page is also the best way to follow us and find all our activities. And that's acroyoga.vienna. Yeah.
Nice, cool. Then everybody can visit the website or Instagram if they want to have more information. Nice. So yeah, we are coming to a close. Thank you so much for the talk. As I've already mentioned, we now have heard a lot about like the whole concept of like physical aspect, emotional aspect, even like community aspect, all of this, like a whole circle comes together, I feel like. So it was very interesting talking to you. Thank you so much. And yeah, I hope to see you in Acro Yoga if I come to visit you, or like, yeah, see you in the yoga space in Vienna.
Yeah, you're very welcome at our studio to come and try it
Thank
out.
you. I'm excited.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.